So we're transitioning into the next illustration part. So there's this part that was it's got its first layer down. So now we're moving on to the second part where it's like Noah and his wife and the animals going into the ark, and then we'll move on to here, the next section here, which is him in the water, and then we'll just go section by section. I think that's pretty cool. And what I've done here is I've just put a layer of colour pencil on. What's next to come is pastels. I like to use mixed mediums. Mixed mediums meaning two types of mediums, or could be more actually, together. You can see I've pulled out some more plastics. I use my needle and my eraser just to clean up the paper as well. At the end we can do that some more too. But you can see here, but that's okay, we can clean that up. Plus it's a drawing, like it's handmade. You can't get rid of everything, right? Anyway, so I'm just going to start with the ark again and then move into the elephants. I might actually even change these birdies here. Sometimes I do that. I get to that point where I'm like, oh, maybe that should change, because I've pressed, this is the thing, and I shouldn't have done this, so lesson learned, is how tight and how heavy you press down the lead will actually indent your paper. So I'm going to put birds there, but at the moment it's, sorry, I'm just checking the camera. At the moment it's got some penguins there, but I think I want to change that to toucans or something more exotic. Because let's face it, there was 2 of every animal was there, 2 of every kind, and that's pretty cool. So just a recap on the story of Noah's Ark. So in the Bible it talks about Genesis 5, it talks about the family of Adam, which is like the genealogy of Adam until Noah. Yep, that's an email that's come through. Bear with me. So Methuselah, which is one of the generations, I think it's 10 generations from Adam to Noah. That's pretty cool. And Methuselah, I was reading it, I was like, oh my gosh, Methuselah, which is one of the forefathers of Noah, lived for 999 years. 999 years. That's almost 1,000 years, man. It's like a superhero thing. That's what I think. But anyway, getting back to this as well, I'll do the animal once I finish the ark. So yeah, so he lived 999 years. The average person that lived back then, right, the average amount of years before the flooding was like 900 years. That's a long time to live. And then they had kids, right? So I was thinking about this. They had kids at, like, I think Noah had his first child at 500 years old. Like, is that set standard? Because like these days here, you know, obviously the demographic and the culture has changed. Back in my mum's generation, my mum and dad's generation, they would be married quite young, have kids quite young. You know, if you didn't have kids before like 30 or whatever, it's considered quite late and stuff like that. So I was thinking about it, it's like, was 900 years like, oh yep, that's the kid stage, we're gonna, like, clearly our genetics, our genealogy would have been made different then, because let's face it, Adam and Eve was designed to live forever in the Garden of Eden with God. So that's pretty crazy, right? To think you live 999 years, right? And then, like, out of that genealogy of Noah in Genesis 5, he talks about oh, I had a mental blank just then. Yeah, he talks about how one of the forefathers of Noah, so in his lineage, generation, was Enoch, and he got like translated into heaven, right? So he didn't live for that long compared to the other guys. But like we know in, I think it's 2 Kings, Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind and translated. He didn't actually like die. His just glorified body went up into heaven. Pretty crazy. Read it, 2 Kings 2:11. You know, just saying. And a whirlwind. So that's what the Bible was saying. So anyway, moving on. So like each name had a meaning, and I think I mentioned this last time. And like I was thinking about it. My name, I don't quite know what Alysha means. I think I tried looking at it before, and I think it was something like yellow flower, or I know it's Greek because it comes from the Greek word Alysha. My parents actually wanted to call me Alysha because my mum liked the feminine side of it, but my parents decided on Alysha. It's a stronger name, but I mean it's from the same thing. But anyway, I'm digress. So what I'm doing here is I'm mixing a bit of purple ink, because you can see I've done that with here. A bit of purple, because let's face it, when you look at brown's pretty in that colour. And even if you do look at brown is not just brown, you know, colours are made up of various like tones. That's why we look at the colour formats of like CMYK. CMYK, C stands for cyan, M magenta, Y yellow, and K is black. I don't know why they call it K. I should really know that, but I don't. Oops, pencil fell. And RGB, red, blue, green, which is our primary colours. And so everything is sort of made up of that colour format. So brown is not technically just brown. And if we really look closely at items, do me a favour when you get a chance in your day, if you look at colours, there's so much depth in colours because it's a spectrum, right? So yeah, anyway, so when I'm doing this, I'm just applying I've got to sharpen my pencils, forever sharpening. Make sure you have a good sharpener too. Like some sharpeners, I find they're actually frustrating because they don't actually sharpen to how you want. But it helps with the definition. So I'm going the way of the wood. Do you know what I mean? I'm not cross hatching, I'm front hatching, if that makes sense. I'm just going, not front hatching, that's not even a thing. I'm going one way basically of hatching, and this is just and the same with the reason why I'm not going cross hatching, and cross hatching means just going one way and then another way, you know, it's a cross, so one way, is because I don't feel like that's required right now with this drawing, because should have actually drawn this. Flippin' birdies, but anyway, I'll do that just now. Yeah, so there's a couple of drawing methods. I can actually pull out, there's a really good book that shows you. See, now this side's darker than this side, so. And also, there's a really good book that talks about cross-hatching and different drawing techniques that helps scrumbling, all this stippling. I'll mention it in the next video. But you can see how you hold your pencil will determine how you are drawing as well. Like if you're putting more pressure, you shouldn't really have that much pressure on your pencils to draw this. Because the more pressure you put on, the more the colour there, and you actually, yeah, it loses its, you want it to blend basically. So by pressing hard, you're not actually blending, you're not letting the colours see as well, and it's harsher tones. You want, what I got taught is when lines come together, there shouldn't be a definition because it's too striking on the thing. It should be blending. But like I said, this is initial thing. I'm just going to put a bit more purple. So like I said, everyone does their drawings very differently. I've not been, how can I say, I have not been trained by, like, I've done a few workshops, courses, so by no means, but you just play around. That's what I think creativity is about, is exploring different ways. I don't think there's ever a set way of doing things. So I quite like that. I quite like the purple, and I think I'm good with that because I keep checking with the tone. I'm not going to put too much definition at the moment with the you can see the lines. Reason being is because this is the first layer, I'm going to put pastels. Remember, it's like layering upon layering. So, and I might make this part, because this part a little bit lighter because they're walking up here, and I'm assuming the sun would come down from them, for them. So, when I think about elephants, I think about that saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But I'm looking at an elephant. Elephants are pretty cool animals, if you think about them. They have such great memory. Their memory is amazing. And they're so family orientated. Like, they'll look after their herd and stuff. It's actually really cool. I did an elephant drawing, black and white pen sketch. I'll share the link below, but yeah, they're just they just got such a depth in their character, elephants do. And yeah, so what's next? Yes, I've done that. I think I'm gonna fix I just gotta get a right another email. I'm gonna get, here it is. Here it is. Sorry, I just check up there because I checked the camera. But I got it, yeah, so I have things in trays, things in pencil cases. I don't think I have ever. So this is like a really dirty thing. Let me just get a pen. Eraser. So when I'm drawing things, I shouldn't do that either. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. Because why? There'll be like leftover, specifically if you do pastels, do not do that, because it will spread onto something else and then it will catch to the paper and the paper will tin. Anyway, moving on. I have, I'm just gonna sharpen. It's so annoying because what happens is these lids get stuck in here. Okay. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so when I'm drawing the penguin, right, for me it's a matter of looking at it and going, okay, I don't want a penguin there, so I want a toucan. So usually I'll go on my phone or I'll have a look on the internet or something and use a reference image to see roughly, and then I'll comicalize it, because obviously this is more for kids, and so you're not going to have an exact replica of the bird, right? So I might just leave that at the end because I will need to get reference image, and I'm currently using my laptop to record right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition into perhaps, yeah, so perhaps using, I'm going to just test, it's good to test the paper as well. I need to get other paper. What is this? Oh, this is not bad. So I'm going to use this paper. And everything just ripped. Cool. I'm going to use this paper, it's always good to have this kind of paper as like just a testing, just to see what the colour looks like before I'm going to apply it. So obviously we know elephants are grey, right? So, but there'll be some tones to it, and also you want your artwork not to be like, for example, like here, I've used blue here, yellow, blue, there's purple, blue. There's some similarities. You're not just using, this is just green there, and there's no harmony in the colours. It's something I have learned at TAFE when I was studying graphics design, my illustration class. So I'm just gonna do a rough, and I'm scrumbling. This is a scrumbling technique. I'm going round. And I'm not pressing that hard because I actually don't want to put too much of this dark grey down straight away. I want to build it. Can you imagine what this elephant's like? Hurry up! And this tortoise says, "You're so slow. I'm behind the big fat bum." It's crazy, eh? The different kinds of animals around the world. So yeah, so getting back to it, with the whole age, like pre-Noah, people live a long time. I could get a lot done in 999 years, just saying. But I think they have said like that because of the environmental changes after the flood, it would have caused a delay, like not a delay, but a change in makeup of body, you know. So it's crazy. And then, like, if we really, I'm actually alright with not, I'm alright with that. So I'll use that grey. So I think I'll have to add some purple in as well, and then some darker shades of grey. So I'm just going to go to, I've got this Prisma box, so I wonder if I should just, so this is mine, oopsies, another pencil, forever. So this is Prisma coloured pencils. I got 132. I like it because they're softer. There's something about them. So I already see there's a few grey ones. So I'm just going to put them all together here. This is another lighter grey. And then I'm probably just going to use the purple that I've used on the other stuff so that there's harmony with colours. Yeah, so I need to actually sort this out. Like, this is great. But yeah, I think what I've got is good for now. And you can see, like, this grey, you can tell this grey's got more green in it. This has got blue in it. You can see what kind of grey. So I don't want to be having too much greys, to be honest. Yeah, so I'm just going to change the birds. This will be green, so that will match that. So this here, and I've already started it here. Because I'm assuming they're coming from the grass area, and you know, blah blah blah. So I've just started doing that. And I can put like different shades of, like here I can add that colour somewhere, maybe here, you know, that colour. So anyway, so it's interesting, eh? So yeah, apparently they they think that we had a different atmosphere and environment so they could live longer. Which says to me, was my brain then, like if I lived during that time, did my brain have a greater capacity at that time too? It's interesting when you start to think about it. Hey, that's really what. So now I'm just doing this with this other greys. And remember, this is the first layer. So when it comes to, for me, when it comes to, I can't multitask, talk and draw. But when it comes to layering, I'm going to put pastels over it. So just bear in mind that when you're looking at this. A lot of the time when I'm doing this, like drawing, like this, I usually just go by instinct. I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm just going to do this method, or, you know. So, yeah, so apparently, so the reason why Moses, like, not Moses, wrong Bible. So like in Genesis 6, right? So God was like, oh my gosh, he's found all evil across the world, basically. Because what happened is, they were like giants and stuff. I think you call them Nephilims. And they're like fallen angels or something. And they would interbreed with like humans, and so they obviously changed the DNA structure of humanity. And then because of that, I think the Lord also realized, like, well, he saw, like, he says, he saw the hearts of men and there was great wickedness. And really, if you look at it, it started back even when, you know, I think it's Jacob. No, it's not Jacob. Some guy before in the story in Genesis that killed his brother, and the bloodshed, and that caused a ripple effect in the bloodline, you know. But anyway, that caused a covenant thing, and God basically was like, what the heck? But anyway, getting back to it, so there was like a degeneration of like our core, what God made us to be. I mean, imagine there'd be giants, there'd be all sorts, eh? Like, do you think there'd be people like with wings and stuff? Interesting, eh? And so like God only saw Noah, who his inheritance or his genealogy was perfect. That's pretty cool. For like your genealogy to be like was perfect. And yes, so then he do you think these animals knew? Like, do you think these animals was like, I'm about to, or was it when they were selected, like say the two were selected, like, bye suckers, to the other elephants that were like, and like, were they purebred elephants? Like, what were the contributing facts that these like animals, you know what I'm saying? What was it? What was the contributing facts? Oops. It's quite interesting, eh? Like, did they have to have a certain weight, structure? But God created everyone, like, and then even the animals. So, like, with my plastic guy, I'm going to just use this thing. I like the plastic, alright? A couple of reasons. One, you can see through. Two, glides on the page. These are animals. It's quite interesting, eh? The genealogy of like, or how was these animals chosen? Do you think like, yeah, and you know what was cool? Like I was reading it in Genesis 6, is like God said that the animals will come to them, to Noah, will come to him for that time. That's pretty cool. And God was like really grieved in his heart about the world because of the wickedness in people's hearts. And then I'm just going to start to put Noah's little garment on. I might actually, I use a kneadable eraser, guys, to do this. Ready? Boom, boom, boom. It raises the lead slightly, and the reason for that is because I don't want to take it away totally. It raises the lead slightly. Kneadable razor. Anyway, I don't even know what I was saying, guys. Yeah, so it's interesting because God was grieved. He saw man, and then he's like, I'm going to destroy what I created that got like basically perverted or changed, degeneration or whatever you call it. And then, so that happened. And then, Noah walked with God, perfect. So God told Noah, hey Noah, this is what you're going to do. You're going to build something out of gopher wood. So imagine building that, right, out of gopher wood. What is gopher wood? It's not made out of an animal. I did Google it. I was like, is it? Because it's a bit bizarre, hey? Like, well, that's what I think. It's bizarre. And it's not gopher wood. It's not made from an animal. It's actually first time ever mentioned in the Bible. So there's no real reference. Some commentaries say it could have been, you know, cypress wood or something like that. It could have been a specific type of wood. Some even like we said that perhaps it's, you know, wood that was used during that time that's no longer like current, you know. And then that's way too bright. That's like an electric yellow. I don't think Noah really, you know, he wants a gold thing. Yeah, so what's it say? Yeah, so gopher wood is actually unidentified tree. So if you like research it and stuff, it's like wow. And then what's really cool is not this. Well, that is cool, but what I mean is my fault things. No. Anyway, so what happened is, trying to get similarities in here even. So, what would have happened is, I'm going to use a bit of pink. Noah got told by God, hey, you know, I want you to build this ark. I wonder if he was like, and then he told him, well, there's going to be a flood. I wonder if like Noah was like, whoa, are you sure? But he believed God because like he walked with God and his generations walked with God. So obedience, right? Saying, yes, Lord, even if, like, imagine if he didn't like build the ark and then he got to the time to come and he's like, oh, the Lord was actually right. That's like seeing for what believing. It's actually not a faith walk then. Like if you go, yes, Lord, I'm obedient, it's actually that's a faith walk. It's like, yep, I will trust in you. Rather than going, oh man, I should have built that ark, man. God was like totally, he was on it, you know. You know. Interesting, eh? I thought about it. It's like God, Noah's faith that God was gonna do what he said he was gonna do. His obedience was faith, really. That's what I thought was pretty cool reading it. And then, like, if you transition further, right, God, like, created the heavens and the earth, right? So he created it, and, like, it just shows that he's the master creator, because he's, like, telling Noah, okay, now Noah, I want you to have this, you know, it needs to be built, like, 300 cubits high. It's got to have 3 lower, middle, and upper decks. It's got to have rooms. It's like got to have all these thing, and he kind of like gave him the blueprint of the ark. And like, let's think about it. It's probably the first boat ever built, because was there even water there? I don't know. Was there? So for me, it's hard to know if there was water there or not water. I'm assuming there wasn't really, like, maybe. I'll have to look at that. But anyway. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think, like, his obedience, and then the Lord told him, you're going to build it like this. And then I'm assuming Noah's wife had brown hair because, let's face it, she was Jewish. Well, not Jewish, but I just assumed she'd have brown hair. You know? Curly hair as well, because I've got curly hair. But, so apparently the ark was like built as a barge site, like it was like a barge. So you know, like a barge has got for the cargo boats, and that's huge. Like if you think about it, 300 cubits by 30 cubits high, 30 cubits high, length 300 cubits. That's 450 high. Oh no, 450 long length and 45 feet height. So there's someone in Kentucky, America, that's actually built a lifelike version of the ark. It's huge. If you look at it, if you go on, I'll give the link, but like, wow, it gives you some perspective of how huge, and it would have been just Noah, his sons, like as if you'd go to someone and say, hey, there's going to be a flood, can you help me? But you're not invited. They would probably be like, no, like, can you imagine? Hey, there's a flood happening and I just need some help, you know? So then, like, in actual fact, Noah was like not just a carpenter, he was a shipbuilder, he was a zoologist, he was a zookeeper, he was a captain of a ship, he was many things in that instance. And he would have built it over what scripture says in Genesis 6, I think Genesis 6:4, I think around there. Genesis 6:4, or even, no, it'd be further down in Genesis 6, but he talks about how roughly they think maybe it was 120 years based on that scripture, but yeah, I don't know. I think it would have taken him, to be honest. I mean, that's not an overnight build for sure, unless like Noah was superhero living up to how many years he lived? Like, I mean, if the average is 900 years of living, maybe they were superheroes. So now I'm using very similar colours, trying to keep with the theme, yellows, blues, pinks and blues, because I want harmony in the drawing. So these are little giraffes. Worked with a German girl years ago, and she would call giraffes giraffes. I thought it was so cute. So I'm just gonna colour them like this. Obviously this is like the first of many, or first coat, whatever. These are little lions. There's some other animals, and this is a tortoise. I need to make them, I want them to be like some exotic animal, like a toucan. I keep thinking about a toucan. I think it's the beak that I like. So tortoises have like a dark green, so I'm just going to put the green. Yeah. And they tend to have like the little tail, little heads. This guy's like, move your butt. Big elephant. The lion, I'm going to just put with like yellow. I think actually should lighten this up, guys. So I'm going to using a needle to just lighten up here. Same here. See, and it's harmony, using harmony colours, like colours that I've used in there is going here, and you can see I'm not just using random colours. This is his mane, like my mane, but his is more spiky. And he's walking. And this is his lovely wife, Lion. And I think we'll also make this. It's gonna make you go in the background, like there, and they also need to be grey. These guys. So don't worry, there'll be more definition coming in the drawing. Like I said, it's first layer coat, and then we're gonna. I'm not gonna worry too much about the face. There's so much in the skin thing at the moment, because that will come. But you're starting to see. Oh, I've got to add the purple in this. These guys. Slightly. So, yeah. So what I might do is continue on with this, kind of like, oops. I really need to get something to like, I don't know, maybe like, I've got my tray, maybe I just gotta free up my tray for my pencils. And I think I'm just going to add in, oh, I should do the grass there too. So yeah, so she's I'm probably not gonna make it as wide, because that's like, I don't know what I was thinking to make it that wide, but yeah, it's a bit too wide, of a circle. So Noah built this. And if you think about it, oh yeah, this is the correct one. So I'm putting this as part of this. So if you think about it, Noah built this with one window, right? on a cubit from above. One window. And one door going inside. So that's the door there. And it's crazy, hey, to think. Did they have air going through it? Like, what the heck, man? Like, I hope the ventilation system was good. Because it would have smells and poops and I don't know what they would, you know. Like I said, Noah was also a zookeeper because, I mean, you'd have to, like, the Lord told him to gather food. Like, how much food do you gather? How do you know how long you're going to be on the flood? Did God tell him and say, yep, you need this much food? Like, or was there some supernatural multiplication of food that happened during that time? Like, and it wasn't just food for Noah and his family. It was food for, like, the animals too. And then, like, so what? He would have to know. He would, during his time building, they would have to find out, like, what do animals eat? I mean, what were the lions eating then? The deer? Like, what the heck, man? Like, food chain too, and where they're behaving themselves, you know, on the ark. So many questions, you know. So many questions. So I'm just adding green in here. So there's a mixture, and then I'm going to also add some dark green in here too. More so, yeah, my pencils keep dropping. I like them. I do like more sketching look. I like the sketchy look with stuff. I think everyone has their own style when it comes to drawing. I mean, I even looked at, right, if you look at history, there's about, well, lots and lots of people in history who've done some drawing of Noah's Ark. And I think back in the day, because of the Catholic Church influence in the government, I think there was a lot of, like, aspects of that where they like did artwork for the church. I mean, Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, and I've been there, and like, it's from Adam to, I think it's to Adam to, yeah, Adam to Abraham, and I think it's the Genesis. So he's like painted that whole thing in the Sistine Chapel, and you know, like, he would do his own rendition of it. There's some works from some Dutch artists that have also done depictions of it, and it's interesting when you look at Noah's Ark, the one that Michelangelo did. It actually shows not necessarily the animals in Noah's family as such, but it actually shows it from a different angle, which is quite clever for Michelangelo, I think. He was showing it from the people that have been left behind, that are trying to, like, make try and make a tent or something, not a tent, a thing with wood, like a makeshift boat, trying to get to the ark. So it's showing from a humanity aspect of others that are like left behind. So it's quite clever depiction. And then you see other versions of it too, like if you look at their artwork back then, they didn't really like 16th century and that they didn't actually know what lions look like. Ugh. Sharpener just fell. Oh well, I have to clean up. I will clean it up afterwards. Yeah, so like they didn't know what a lion looked like, so they would look at it as if it's like a dog. So if you see a lot of the artworks back then, when I was in Europe, I noticed even in the UK, the artworks of the lions look like dogs. And then it's the same with the woman's body. Like I listened to Art Curious podcast, and she was saying that in that era, because obviously women were ladies and you didn't necessarily men didn't necessarily know what the woman's body looked like, so it had masculine features, because for them the body that they knew were men. So it's not like they were as free as we are today with human, like the body. So yeah, quite fascinating that we use reference images to or things, ideologies and ideas of what things we think look like what. So yeah, so I'm just drawing Noah's wife here. So yeah, it's crazy to think that we use, and even Salvador Dali, right? I went to his exhibition. They had a mini exhibition here for Fringe World a couple of years ago. I went with friends, and what was fascinating is he was also asked to do some renditions of the certain biblical scenes, and he had a science or what do you call it? Science background. So his mum was Catholic and his dad was into science, and I think Scientology, but you'll have to look at that. I don't know if it was Scientology, but he was into science, and you can see even in his artwork when he's done them, you can see that there's this science spin with it. It's quite a fascinating thing, because it's people's perception, really. So I'm going to move on to, I'm going to leave that bird stuff because I have to use a reference image, and right now my reference image item on my computer is currently being used to film this. So I'm just going to move the pencils. I need a better way of doing this, to be honest. But the reason why I like having all my pencils here is because I can see it. Okay, this is this colour. I could have it on my trolley. I've got a blue trolley here, but I've got other stuff on there, so I have to free it up there. But then again, I like looking at it from this perspective. Everything is falling. No. So we're just doing one layer of pencils at the bottom layer. Everything is falling. Okay, so you can see I've already done something in it. So I'm just going to clean this up a bit. So this is Noah. He's got a bird, and what I think I'm going to do is actually do this bit's next. So, yeah, and then I'll move on to this, then this, and this. I think that's probably the smartest idea.